Hey everyone, and welcome along to game number 2 of the Falkirk free-for-all. So this time I'm up against Mark Singleton and his dwarf army. As you can see here from the picture, there are a lot of war machines. 2 organ guns, 2 grudge throwers and 3 cannons. A couple of units of thunderers and 2 big combat blocks. Now, I looked at this army and just thought to myself, oh shit. Sorry for the French if there's any younger listeners. But this was the most intimidating thing I'd ever looked across the board at. I just thought, I've got nothing that's going to get anywhere near this army. And if I do, I'm going to have so little left, it's going to make little or no difference. Anyway, that was my thoughts before the game. We are on to deployment, and we have on my right flank a unit of Doomfire Warlocks with my Sorceress, then my 31 Witch Elves with the Cauldron of Blood, Hellbrawn and my Death Hag, which is my BSB, one of my Repeater Bolt Throwers. In the centre, sorry for the blurry picture, is my one unit of Dark Riders, my 30 Executioners. Hiding in the trees there, I have my Master on Pegasus, and I have a Bolt Thrower. And way out on the left, I have another unit of Doomfire Warlocks and a unit of Dark Riders. And my opponent pretty much boxes himself in here. He has his 2 Grudge Throwers, his 3 Cannons, his 2 Organ Guns, and he's 2 units of Thunderers out at his left flank. And in the centre he has a unit of 40 Longbeards with his General, BSB, and I think that's it. He also has a unit of 25 or 20 Hammerers, or Ironbreakers. Hammerers, sorry, Hammerers it was. And he also has 2 Master Engineers sitting there beside his organ guns. Now, the scenario for this one was battle line set up, and the secondary objective was to control more table quarters than your opponent, which got you an extra 3 tournament points, no extra victory points, but an extra 3 tournament points. So into turn 1, and the Dwarfs go first, which really made me feel that I was going to be on a disadvantage trying to run at the Dwarfs with a full round of shooting under their bag. So what he does is he moves his unit of Thunderers around there just to face forward. Obviously can't shoot this turn then. His first cannon goes through and... Sorry, it's a Grudge Thrower, sorry. Takes out my Bolt Thrower. His other Grudge Thrower lands direct and takes out my other Bolt Thrower. His Organ Gun takes aim and shoots out a unit of Dark Riders. And his other Organ Gun takes aim and takes out 11 of my Executioners. So this was how it was at the end of his turn 1. Not even my turn 1 yet. I have lost 140, 270. Probably, I've lost nearly 300 points to him so far. And I've lost almost half my unit of Executioners. So I am, at this minute in time, more than a little worried and feeling a bit down on my hopes for this game. Anyway, we go into my turn 1, and I race forward as fast as I can. Unit of Dark Riders on the left go up as far as they can on the left and just stay there. My Warlocks take a couple of dangerous terrain tests to march through the hedges there. My Master just flies up full 20 inches. He wants to get into the war machines there, so if he can survive, he has a Cloak of Twilight, so he'll be able to survive a couple of shots that are thrown at him. 3 wins, toughness 4, so there's a chance he'll get in. Executioners have the banner of swiftness, so they march up full 12 inches, as close as they can get. And same on this side, my Sorceress's unit of Doomfire Warlocks go and hide in the forests. And my Witch Elves march straight up the battlefield towards the dwarf lines, and want to get into combat as soon as possible, obviously, to prevent any more shooting at them. Magic's pretty much a bust, and we go into the top of turn 2. His Thunderers take aim at my Warlocks in the forest and manage to kill off one after saves. The rest of his war machines, this is a mistake in my opponent's part, I believe. Obviously, he sees the danger that my Pegasus Rider causes, and he fires all of his war machines at him. He survives. The first organ gun shoots at him and does nothing. The second organ gun shoots at him and does 1 wound. The first cannon shoots and misses. The second cannon hits but is saved. The third cannon hits and is saved. One of the grudge throwers hits and I make my 3-up ward. And I think the last grudge thrower missed as well. So my opponent wasted a full round of shooting at my master here, who took 1 wound, and whatever else he does, even if he does nothing else the rest of this game, I am extremely thankful for that. And with a bit of bad luck on his side and maybe a mistake, error in judgment, we go into my turn 2. So I automatically start declaring charges. My Pegasus Rider goes into the organ gun. My Executioners just move up along with my Warlocks, ready to, if they survive the next turn of shooting, they'll get, well, they're within range to just charge in and hopefully do some damage and get me points. Over this side, my Witch Elves fail a charge into the Longbeards. It was quite long, it was about 9 or 10 inches. However, I fail it and go forward about 5 or 6 and lose a couple of witches to dangerous terrain. And my Sorceress unit just moves up, staying in cover, and hopefully was hoping to get off a Pit of Shades or something similar. Magic phase is a bust, so we go straight into combat, and my Peg Rider takes out the organ gun no problem. And because of the way I charged in, I wasn't thinking about it at the time, I was just happy to get into combat. I didn't manoeuvre myself into the side so I could overrun into the next organ gun. So that was a mistake on my part, which hopefully I'll never make again. But he just then about faces and faces a line of war machines. And this is how it's looking at the top of turn 3. So once again, I'm worried about the shooting, obviously. He refuses to move, as a dwarf does. He does some shooting. He only does 4 wounds to the Executioners, which I'm okay with. I don't mind 4 wounds. That leaves me with 15. Still pretty effective in combat. I can do a lot of damage with that. He then proceeds to fire off 3 cannons and a grudge thrower, which once again I thought was a mistake. Too much to go against my Pegasus Rider. 3 cannons and a grudge thrower are saved. The third grudge thrower gets through and does 5 wounds or something and killing him. But I'm happy with that. He's absorbed another round of shooting and I am now fully within charge range and hoping things are going to go better. And this is how it looks at the bottom of turn 3. I'm getting ready to make my charges. Sorry, his Thunderers did do another 2 wounds to my Warlocks during that shooting phase, so you can see the 2 of those are missing. But I declare some charges. My Executioners make it into the flank of the Hammerers, and my Warlocks go into the organ gun. I'm more than happy with that. And once again, my Witches, I think, fail their charge. which is unfortunate because I was hoping to get into those Longbeards and do as much damage as possible and hopefully get them in a second round of combat. However, it wasn't to be. I didn't realise the Hammerers had so many attacks. 2 attacks each, so 6 attacks. I have no idea what happened here, but I think I forgot to take a few pictures here actually, that's what happened. First round of combat, I believe, is a draw, and he turns to face me. I wipe out the organ gun, and then into his turn, his shooting isn't very effective again, which I'm happy with, and a grudge thrower I think misfires, and my cauldron saves the cannons. In the round of combat in his turn, Hammerers go and make short work of my executioners. There's only 3 left, but I think they stand around. They don't run off the board. And over at this side, he manages to fail to wound any more of my warlocks. So we then go into the bottom of turn 4, and the cauldron and the witches finally get into combat. The warlocks run into the first cannon, and it's now a game. So bottom of turn 4, I'm fully in combat. I've lost a fair few points. I'm going to lose the executioners, and I'm hoping to get full points for the combat brick and overrun and take the rest of the war machines. So it's just a matter of how long he can hold out for. So one of the, I'm not 100% sure what happened. I actually managed to get off a Pit of Shades in the magic phase. That's what happened here. I'm trying to figure out why there was a grudge thrower missing. I get off a Pit of Shades and the grudge thrower automatically fails that, so down the pit it goes. It's the only one I was hitting with the template right enough, but it's one less grudge thrower to deal with. Into combat, he kills one of my 2 remaining, no, actually he kills all 3 of my executioners, and reforms to face my warlocks. In this combat, the witches and Hellbrawn go to work, and we kill every single Longbeard. I think I'd killed 2 with a Pit of Shades earlier on, which I hadn't mentioned, which was inconsequential. But the Witch Elves with the Razor Standard, impact hits, Hellbrawn and Death Hag go through and kill 37 Longbeards. I didn't manage to kill his Dwarf Lord, who at this point is on Snake Eyes to stay. He does fail, and I fail to catch him. So you can see his Dwarf Lord there, just sitting a couple inches away from the board. The Warlocks had killed the cannon and overran into the next one. So we are on to the top of turn 5 then, and sorry for the blurry picture there. Basically, his Hammerers charge into the side of my Warlocks. That's the only movement other than his Dwarf Lord rallying. So at the end of the combat, we have my Warlocks are wiped out. The cannon is killed, and I think I killed 1 Hammerer, if any. After that, the about face to face my cauldron, and it's my turn. So I don't have many pictures of this one, but I charge Hellbrawn out of the unit and into the Dwarf Lord. I reform the Cauldron of Blood just to face the Thunderers. My hope here is basically that I'll be able to charge in my turn 6 and get the points for another unit of Thunderers. In the combat, Hellbrawn swiftly defeats the Dwarf Lord and overruns off the board, so she's safe for the time being. In his turn 6, he charges into the rear of my Witch Elves, and that's the only movement. His shooting, he takes aim with the last of his Thunderers at the last Warlock and my Sorceress, and yes, they kill the Sorceress and the the Doomfire Warlock. So my sorceress is 2 for 2 so far. Last time she died to difficult terrain. This time she died to Thunderers who were on 6s to hit. It's a shame, but what can you do? We kill a few of the hammerers in the combat, and this is how things are looking at my turn 6. I basically turned around after the combat, and this is... I kill the hammerers, can't overrun, because he charged me, so I just face this way just for the end of the game. Hellbrawn comes back on the table, and the game finishes like this. So after all was said and done here, it was a 16-4 victory for me, as I have an awful lot of points invested in that sort of Death Star unit. So 16-4 victory, and I also get the points for having one more table quarter than my opponent, because I basically left this unit of Dark Riders sitting out here in the corner, out of the range of everything, away from anything, which basically gave me a 19-4 victory after the bonus tournament points were added. So all in all, an interesting game. I'd still believe it was my opponent's game to lose. He spent far too much of his time focusing on my Pegasus Rider, who yes would have got in and taken out his war machines maybe over the course of the next couple of turns, but by that time he could have destroyed the Cauldron, taken out the rest of the Executioners, a massive portion of the Witch Elves. So I think that was probably the biggest mistake of that game. But I'm not complaining. It was another good victory for me. This took me from table 4 up to table 2 for the next game, where I once again face off against dwarfs. I was up against player David Reed, very good player. Goes to a lot of the Scottish tournaments, I believe, and this was his first tournament with the dwarfs, I think he said. It's another gun line, a few less war machines, but definitely not my most fun army to play against. And we'll see how that one goes. Catch you on the next one, guys. Thanks for watching.